فاتحة. السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد سيد الأولين والآخرين. مدد يا رسول الله، مدد يا سادة أصحاب رسول الله، مدد يا مشايخنا الأسطول ولا شاء الله فاز حسن شيخ محمد ناصر الرحمن. مدد طريقتنا الصحبة والخير في الجميع. Allah Azze ve Celle Kur'an-ı Azimüşşan'da buyuruyor vaylül mutaffifin. Hani vay haline ki bu alışverişte sahtekarlık yapan.
Allah Almighty commands in the Holy Quran, woe to those who, when they do trade, they commit fraud and cheat others. Woe to them.
Tartıda oynayan.
Woe to those who mess with the scale in order to cheat.
İnsanlar için işte bu zamanımızda her tarafta bu
We now live in a time where fraud is everywhere.
Şey oldu, sırf tartı yani örnek olarak.
Fraud is not only applied to manipulating the scale, but manipulating the scale is just a symbol of the fraud that prevails everywhere.
Veriliyor tartı. Şimdi tartıdan madde 3-5 gram değil de adamlar
and the way people manipulate the scale is not by 3 or 5 grams, but by far more.
3 misli, 5 misli.
They add 3 times more. They add 5 times more.
Yapıyor. Üstüne sahtekarlık yapıyor.
And thus they cheat people by multiplying their fraud 3 times, 5 times.
İnsanlara fakir fukarayı eziyorlar.
Thus they crush the poor and the needy.
Maksatlar tabi Deccal'ın emirlerini yerine getirmek.
And what is their objective? It is, of course, to fulfill the commands of Dajjal.
Her tarafta, burada da başka yerlerde de Allah.
And this applies to everywhere, here and everywhere else.
Onlara hesabını soracak.
There's fraud and people cheat others, but they will be held accountable for their fraud.
Onlar inanmıyor ki o büyük günde hesaplarını vereceklerini
Allah Almighty asks them, don't they know that they will held accountable and give account on that magnificent and huge day of judgment?
Bilmiyorlar mı? Bilseler de bilmeseler de bu kötülüğü yapan insanlar ahirette büyük bir sıkıntıya düşecekler.
Whether they believe in the day of judgment or not, they will certainly be held accountable on the day of judgment, and they will be in great troubles then.
Nasıl bu dünyada insanları sıkıntıya düşürdülerse,
just the way they put people into trouble by cheating,
ahirette de düşecekler.
They themselves will be then in trouble in the hereafter.
Yani bu son zamanları böyle bu yapılan bu sıkıntılar hesapsız geçmez.
The oppression, the troubles people are made to go through or undergo, there is no limit to the injustice people experience.
Allah Azze ve Celle muhakkak hesabını soracak.
But let there be no doubt that certainly Allah Almighty will hold them accountable.
Ne maksatla ne yapıldı? Para kazanmak için mi?
And they will have to pay a price. What was their objective? Was it to seek and gain more and more money?
İnsanlara sıkıntı vermek için mi?
Was it to put people under distress and oppress them?
Yaptıkları bu kötülük hesapsız kalmaz.
And they will be questioned, and whatever wrongdoing they committed, they will give account to that and be held accountable on the day of judgment before Allah Almighty.
Yaptıklarını pişman olacaklar.
And then they will regret what they did.
Çünkü böyle bir hal nadir görülmüş.
This state of manipulation and cheating and fraud is a state which has not been experienced in this way before.
Bu haller iyi haller değil.
And this state of fraud that prevails is not a good state.
Hem yani bu insanların Allah Azze ve Celle'yi unuttuklarından dolayı da
And this is a sign that people have forgotten about their Lord Allah Almighty.
onlara da bir cezadır.
And this fraud comes as a punishment to the people who have forgotten about Allah.
Herkese bir cezasıdır.
There is a price and a punishment for everyone.
Allah tevekkül eden, Allah unutmayan o sıkıntıdan salim çıkar.
However, those who believe in Allah Almighty and those who place their trust in Allah Almighty will overcome these difficulties and will overcome these times of distress and troubles in safety and in peace.
Ama Allah'ı unutan, nefsine uyan,
Those, however, who forget about Allah Almighty and who follow their egos,
şeytana uyan,
those who follow shaitan,
muhakkak pişman olacak.
they will certainly end up in a state of regret.
Yaptıklarına pişmanlık yaramadığı gün pişman olacak. Allah
But they will regret when it's too late. They will regret on the day of judgment when all the accounts are being made and when there's no time and there's no return.
muhafaza etsin.
May Allah Almighty protect us.
Allah nefsimize uydurmasın.
May Allah Almighty protect us from following our egos.
Ne yapacaksın? İşte ahir zamanda yaşıyoruz.
What can we do? We now live in the end of times.
Vicdan kalmamış.
We live in a time when there's no conscience left.
Merhamet kalmamış.
We live in a time when there's no mercy.
Allah kalbimizden o merhameti kaldırmasın inşallah.
Therefore we pray to Allah Almighty so that He may not remove mercy from our hearts.
Allah muhafaza etsin.
May Allah Almighty preserve our mercy in our hearts.
Ümmeti Muhammediye doğru yola gelsinler onlar.
And may the people of our beloved Prophet, humanity, be guided to the right way, all of them,
Da bereket olsun inşallah.
so they may benefit from the abundance of the blessings and favors of Allah Almighty everywhere.
Ve minallah tevfik. El Fatiha.